Welcome to Catalytic Leadership, the podcast designed to help leaders intentionally grow and thrive. Here is your host, author, and leadership and executive coach, Dr. William Attaway.
Hey, it's William, and welcome to today's episode of the Catalytic Leadership Podcast. Each week, we tackle a topic related to the field of leadership. My goal is to ensure that you have actionable steps you can take from each episode to grow in your own leadership. I believe, like Craig Rochelle has said many times, that when a leader gets better, everybody benefits. Your team, your department, your customers, your clients, your spouse, your kids, everybody. Each week, we spotlight leaders from a variety of fields, locations, and organizations. My goal is for you to see that leaders can be catalytic no matter where they are or what they lead. I draw inspiration from the stories and journeys of these leaders, and I hear from many of you that you do too. Let's jump in to today's interview. It is such an honor today to have Robin Sachs on the podcast. Robin's philosophy is simple. You are overthinking everything. Robin helps smart people get out of their own way so they can show up with real confidence, stress less, and accomplish more, regardless of the situation. By teaching clients how to shift their self-talk, their body language, and their mental game, they feel more calm, they show up with more confidence, and they feel more in control of their stressors. And why is that so important for you leaders? Because confidence, self-talk, and effective communication skills are the keys to mastering real-life situations in the moment, any moment. And guess what? Nobody ever teaches us these skills. The great thing to know is these skills can be learned. Robin is a confidence coach, a professional speaker, an author, and motivator. She has facilitated personal and professional development workshops internationally for companies including Microsoft, Panera, and American Greetings. She's an award-winning journalist, and she has also trained Emmy Award nominees and an Emmy Award winner. Personally, she is a mom, she's a wife, and she is a friend. And her book, Get Off My Bus, How to Get Clarity, Get in the Driver's Seat, and Get Moving in Your Life, was nominated for Small Business Trend's Small Business Book of 2010. And it's available everywhere. Robin, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, William, thank you for the invite to share. I appreciate you.
I would love, Robin, for you to share some of your story with our listeners, particularly around your journey and your development as a leader. How did you get started?
I think as most leaders get started, at some point you look backwards and go, oh my goodness, look at all those times I led.
Yeah.
And you don't really think about it as a title.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. I'll try and kind of condense and make a long story short. When I was a sophomore in high school, a sophomore in college, my grandfather had passed away, and he had run what was the family business. It was a large industrial maintenance and cleaning supply business. And so there was a wing that sent cleaning crews into businesses, and there was a wing that sold supplies to businesses who did their own cleaning. So mops, buckets, wringers, wax, stripper, those big buffer machines, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Long story short, he had pared the business down for semi-retirement purposes. Most of the family had been out of it at that point. When he passed, my dad said, hey, would you jump in with me and let's just look at it and see what we've got? And do we run it? Do we dissolve it? Do we sell it? We're not even sure exactly what's there at that point. And I was somebody who was always writing and doing theater and being creative and stuff. I had zero interest in at least what I thought was business. Yeah. Business to me was, spreadsheets and selling to people. Oh my goodness. And accounts receivables and payables and ew, right? It was math and invoicing and accounting. Zero interest. I said, of course, let's jump in and see what's there. Long story short, we ended up deciding to run the business, build it back up a bit. While I finished school the next couple of years, I worked within the business with my dad and then ended up coming out of college and running the business for 4 years.
Wow.
And it was one of those things where didn't have an MBA, didn't have, any business training, whatever. It was one of those where it was just, here are some things we need to do. Let's do them. And let's get some good people back in the mix that can do the things we don't necessarily know how to do. They can do it better than us.
Yeah.
Let's get a better team together. And I probably don't have to tell anyone listening. I learned more in those 4 years than I ever would have learned if I had spent a lifetime in business school, right?
Yep.
And the biggest takeaway that I learned, because when we first went to the largest customer that my grandfather had kept, and it was, at the time, it was a large, in the Northeast region, a large drugstore chain. And they've since been acquired by one of the other large drugstore chains. But my dad said, come on, we got to go talk to Ray, who was the guy who bought. We were his vendor. And it was the first time after my grandfather passed. And my dad said, let's go talk to him and let's just kind of see where we stand with them. And I'm thinking the whole time, we're this little tiny guy. They're this enormous guy. Why are they going to want to keep us? I don't understand. Why would they do that? We walk in, and the first thing that Ray, the purchasing director, did, walked over, hugged us both, and said, hey, we're going to go to lunch. I'm taking you guys to lunch. But before, I just want to tell you one thing so you know where we stand. Like, he cut to the chase. It was just like not even, and no talking, no bantering. And he said, listen, your grandfather, your father, was an amazing, not just vendor and business partner for years. He was an amazing person. And I want you to know that when we went through our bankruptcy, he was one of the vendors that stayed here and got pennies on the dollar. When we went through our troubles, he was one of the people who stayed with me and did this. If you run the business like he ran the business, I'm not going anywhere. And that blew my mind, because that was a defining moment in my life, in my career. Because what that told me was, wait a minute, this business thing isn't about spreadsheets and accounting and purchase orders. This is about relationships.
Yeah.
It's just people and other people. And whoa, and that, as silly as it sounds, that just boggled my mind, because it was like a tornado in my head that just wiped everything out that I had ever thought about it. And that kind of shifted everything for me. And what I realized from a leadership standpoint, because I went on in my journey to make some very deliberate career shifts, career changes. And what ended up happening was, 4 years into the business, I woke up one morning and went, wow, this is great. I've got a nice salary in my own place, and I'm young, and I have a business, and this is wonderful. And it has nothing to do with what I want to do.
Wow.
I have no interest in this. I've learned amazing things. There were so many positives that came out of this. This isn't me, though. I don't want to do this. And that started me on a self-leadership journey of, wait, but I have all this great stuff. How can I walk away from this? I don't understand like how you do that. And I had to kind of rethink things and go, whoa, no, I don't want to spend another 10, 20, 30, 40 years doing this. But there are things I do want to do. I might not know exactly what they look like, but I know there are things, if I don't do, I'm going to look back and go, that was me. That was me. And I never did it. And so I started on this self-leadership role after I had learned a lot about leadership from a business standpoint very early on. And I worked in television news for several years. I was a director of marketing for a large company for a few years. I worked for the Cleveland Browns for a couple of years in a technical aspect. I've done on-air things. I've done behind-the-scenes things. And one day, again, I kind of woke up and I went, what if I just went out and was me? And the weird thing was, is as I kept looking back with well, what's next? What do I want to do next? I realized, wait a minute, there are parts of me that have been there every single step of the journey. And if I kind of hone in on those and go, what is it I do? What do I love to do? What do I do really well? What do people come to me for? Just friends and family and coworkers. And what do people come to me for? Yeah. And it was the same couple of things every single time. And I went, okay, how do you take that out into the world? Because that's the value that I have.
Yeah.
That's what I want to bring out. how do I make a living doing that? How do I bring it and get it to people? And how do I monetize it in a way where I can go do that? And so there was some leadership in the way we think of leadership from running a team or working with a business type thing. And then there was some self-leadership around the way, which is where a lot of the self-talk and the confidence and those things that I really work with people on now really started coming into play. And as I did those things, I went, oh my goodness, everyone needs to know about these things.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to start putting out, not knowing what it was going to look like, right? There are days 17 years later, I'm not sure what it might look like, but it doesn't matter. You put it out there consistently and the people who need it will find it. And it's amazing how you cross paths.
Wow, Robin, that is an amazing journey, and one that I imagine you would not have predicted all those many years ago.
Not at all. To this day, I wake up and go, so what do I want to do when I grow up? And I don't know the answer necessarily, because it could be completely different, even though I have a good sense, I guess, of what it looks like at this point.
You know, what fascinates me about your story that you shared is your insight at such a young age that leadership really at its core is relationships.
And I have to credit Ray Conlon with old Revco drugstores for that. That was a talk about catalytic leadership. That was a catalytic moment.
Yes.
Where everything I had ever thought, I realized is not right.
Yeah.
But something even better is right. And I'm good at that. That's kind of cool. Right.
I love that.
And over the years, that plays out as, again, as I work with people, it's amazing. The higher you get in any organization, the less it is about your knowledge, the more it is about your people skills and communication skills. That's how you level up and lead really, really effectively.
That's so true. I love too your incredible self-awareness at that age, that this is not what I want to do. I've accomplished this, I've done this, I've got this. I'm not just surviving, but I'm thriving in a lot of ways, financially and beyond. But this is not what I want to do. And you didn't let the golden handcuffs keep you trapped in a life that wasn't really you. That's fascinating to me, because I meet people who are 2 and 3 times the age you were then, who never got to that point.
And I have to credit that. Again, we learn everything looking back. We don't learn a lot looking forward. I hate to say it. We learn everything we need to know really looking back, everything that matters at least. And, looking back, I realize, especially as I work with people and talk with people more in a coaching capacity and get their stories and their journeys, I have to say, I'm so lucky and excited at the fact that my parents were always kind of people who went, I don't know, go give something a try. If it works, great. You found something new. If it doesn't, whatever, you do something different. And that was kind of the overall support or the mindset that I was surrounded with, understanding not everybody is. And there's a lot more that you need to overcome when that's not the kind of mindset you have growing up. Things like that. When I was younger, I was in a Montessori school for several years, and Montessori is all about kind of, open classroom with several grades in it. And, you work with each other, you solve problems together, you're independent. So looking back again, all of those things were little pieces that really shaped my mindset of, if I want to do something, go do it. Try it. Nothing's going to be the end of the world, right? The worst case, you learn something. It might be you learn that, whoa, I thought I wanted to do that. That's not what I want to do. Check that off the list.
Yes.
And, the more that you embrace that instead of kind of butt heads with it, because it's easy to do that sometimes. Well, I should stay, right? I should keep doing this. The more you do that, the more self-awareness you have, and you realize, things like, happiness is as much a commodity as money. Things like calm and just being able to just chill when you need to sometimes, that's as much as commodity as, having a great title in an amazing company, right?
So true.
There's no right, wrong, good, bad. It's just, you've got to find that self-awareness of what is it that I would love to live my life as. And maybe that's happy. Maybe that's less stressed. Maybe that's a little more confident. Maybe that's being able to flex or switch gears if I truly feel I need to do that, or I find myself in a toxic work environment, or with a not a good team, or with coworkers that I don't want to play the game anymore. Some people love that stuff and thrive in it. Some people go, get me out of here fast. So again, it's that self-awareness of, you get to make all your choices.
Yeah.
And don't ever forget that. You get to make them all. But you got to be able to sit back every once in a while and go, okay, so what do I want, or what don't I want? What boundaries am I willing to set up for myself or with other people? And what am I willing to tolerate? And that's okay if it's something you choose. And I think those are kind of the things that over time really allowed me to sort of look at things and just go, yes, no. And that's kind of a wonderful goal, I think, to get to sometimes, where you just, someone brings something to you and you're like, yep, let's talk about it. I love it. Or nope, not at all a fit right now for me, but thanks. And that's it. There's no more discussion, right? And that's easier said than done sometimes, but that's a goal, to be able to have some clarity about you enough that you can show up in the world and be able to do that, not for yourself only, but for others too. Because what a wonderful thing to be able to teach people, talk about leadership, what's going on in here. Let me give you some thoughts on how to shift what's happening up here, because that's probably getting in your way as much, if not more, than the stuff outside of your head coming at you.
What you're describing, increasing your clarity and being able to say yes, no, and have that type of clarity, that reflects a significant level of confidence, a healthy level of confidence. Can that be learned?
Oh, I love that question, William. Yes, confidence is a skill. And like any other skill, it can be learned.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think a lot of times we walk into life, and we all do this with a lot of different things, thinking I either have it or I don't. I'm either that kind of person or I'm not.
Right.
Right. And it's an us and them kind of thing. Absolutely, confidence can be learned. And when you see people who look like naturals, they're not. They simply learned the skill set of how to show up that way and be genuine with it, because it isn't an authenticity thing. It's a genuine thing. You can spot fake confidence a mile away, right? We see it often, and you can spot it instantly and go, wow, you are so insecure and not confident that that's what you feel you need to do. And again, there are times where we do that as human beings, right? We need to puff up a bit because we are feeling less than or insecure. And that's often how that behavior comes up. So I can understand where it's coming from. And we've all done it at times. Genuine confidence is a skill. And the way that I define confidence as a confidence coach is, confident people are not always in control of the situation. Good luck with that. Confident people are not always in control of other people. Even more good luck with that. Right? Confident people are in control of themselves. And so when a situation gets heated, when a conversation gets difficult, when something gets challenging, right? No matter what the situation, no matter who's in the room, no matter what's going on, confident people know how to be in control of themselves. And where often what we see is, when chaos starts happening, you see most people get pulled into the chaos. What confident people do, if you observe, confident people don't get pulled into everyone else's chaos. Confident people have the ability to pull people back into their calm. And that skill is amazing, because calm is a superpower. And, when everybody's coming in because the conversation's getting, and things are getting heated, everyone pulls in. You'll notice confident people sit back. Think little things like that. There are things with their body language. There are things with their breathing, right? There are things with, they understand if something comes at me, I don't need to react in that moment. I can choose to respond. Those are two very different things. I can take a moment, because sometimes the difference between reacting and responding is a breath or two, right? I can get myself where I need to be to show up in a way where we're going to problem solve. We're going to acknowledge something's going wrong. We're going to say, yes, this is all horrible. So what are we going to do about it? And the idea being, absolutely, I'm not Pollyanna about everything. That's as delusional as being negative about everything, right? Those extremes, please stay away from both of those extremes.
That's good.
The answer is always in the middle. And so if people are over here, how do you pull them back to here? When people are over here, how do you pull them back to here? And in order to be able to manage people in that way and people's behavior and emotions in that way, you've got to be able to do it for yourself first, because then you know how to do it. And now you can help others do that as well. And so it's all about being in control of you.
I would imagine that there are benefits to feeling more in control and more calm and more confident beyond just what you've talked about. I would imagine physiologically there are benefits to this. Relationally, there are benefits to this.
Yeah, William, I'll give you an example. I'm big on visuals, and kind of here's something we can all relate to, because you either do this or you know someone who does this, guaranteed. Imagine that you're driving down the highway. Let's say we're on the freeway and it's the morning and the day's gone perfectly fine so far, right? Everything's fine, nothing to worry about, be concerned about. And you're driving and all of a sudden somebody cuts you off and you have to slam on your brakes. Now, at that moment in time, there are two possible responses. There are no more. Response number one, I slam on my brakes, and of course, what comes out, comes out. Yeah, right. And I start screaming and yelling, and right, we might gesture. And sometimes we get so worked up so fast, we have to pull next to the person just to look at them, like to stare at them, right? And then if they're not looking at us, we even get more mad, right? We were just in a blind spot. That was a fluke. It wasn't like that was some malicious attack against me. It wasn't like that person who doesn't know me woke up that morning and went, "Where's Robin driving today? I'm going to go wreck her world today." we make so much about us, and that's when we react. It's because we think the world's after us sometimes, right? Instead of just, whoa, I was in a blind spot. They didn't see me. Because the second way I could have responded or reacted was I could have slammed on my brakes and gone, glad I was paying attention, and move on with my day.
Yes.
Now, the difference here, and you mentioned, physiologically, because there are so many, when we react or respond, when we make a choice, when we make a decision, when we have a thought, and we don't really validate or invalidate it, we just take it at face value, or we just believe it. All of those things, when we do those things, we've set into motion some mental and physiological things happening in our bodies, because we're just machines. So, and machines run the same way every single time. And if you do something different, if you push a different button on the machine, you get a different result. If you push the same button all the time, you get the same result. So in that example, we talk about what's happening physiologically. I'm that first person and I go into this rage, I turn the corner and that person is gone, right? Out of sight, but not out of mind, because what just happened was, because the way I chose to react to that, I just completely set myself into fight or flight, completely. And instantly my heart rate's up here. My breath is really shallow. My heart's beating. All my blood has rushed from my vital organs out to my extremities, because you got to get ready to fight or to run. One of the things fight or flight does is it shuts down your logical thinking, which is why when we get stressed or nervous or anxious or overwhelmed, it's like we can't recall things, right? Or our brain gets foggy, right? If someone has a big presentation and they've memorized it and they've practiced it 100 times, they get in front of the room and their stress and anxiety kicks in and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to say next. They forget, I've practiced this 100 times. That's part of fight or flight. And clarity goes away. You can't logically think. So once I've kicked myself, because that person didn't kick me into fight or flight, my choice of response kicked me into fight or flight. That is all coursing through my system. The adrenaline, the cortisol, the high breathing. I am totally in stress mode. And now the next several hours of my life, we say, oh, everything's going wrong today. I can't find my keys. I dropped my phone. I knocked the coffee onto my computer. Everybody's driving me crazy. No, if you're not in that mode, probably most of those things don't happen, or you're not blowing them up. They're actually this, which is very manageable, but you're making them this. That's what happens when we kick ourselves into something like a fight or flight. Physiologically and mentally, we've just made the next several hours of our life really hard, because all of those things are happening and cortisol and adrenaline running through your system, you're not going to have a good outcome unless you can do something to bring that down. And so one thing is to start to learn to respond the second way, which is don't start it in the first place, right? I'm a big fan of, we talk a lot about stress management. If the stress isn't there in the first place, I have to manage less stress. That makes life easier right there.
Yeah.
So if I am creating some of my stress by how I'm choosing to react or respond to things, I'm in total control of that. And so I can start there because I don't have to wait for other people to do anything for me. I don't have to wait for certain situations. I can start that right now. And it might be as simple as, I'm going to learn to sit back and take a couple of breaths, right? Something as simple as that.
Yeah.
It seems so simple that we almost go, well, that's ridiculous. I need to do so much more. No, right? When someone else is really, really stressed, what do we tell them to do? All right, take a couple of deep breaths.
Yeah.
Okay, now tell me what's going on. Why do we do that? Because it works. It helps bring people down. It reoxygenates your brain and body for a second. When you were up here, taking a couple of breaths just brings you here. And now you're a little more able to manage what's going on. And so that comes back to that self-leadership, right? Is, how can you create situations where mentally and physically you're in a good place where you can show up and do what you need to do and help others do that. If you're not there, you're not going to be very effective doing the other thing. It's why athletes have pre-games, for example, right? Some might listen to music. Some might have a thing that they say to themselves, right? Some might physically get up and start shaking. They're getting all the energy or the anxiety, the tension out, right? Some might last 30 seconds. Some could last 5 hours, but they're mentally and physically getting themselves in a place where when they show up on the field, so to speak, they're at a place where they have a chance for a positive outcome to perform at their best. And so the more you can set yourself up to be able to have a positive outcome, to perform at your best, the more impact you're going to have, the more success you're going to have, and the more calm and controlled you're going to be. And people are going to mimic that, which is amazing to see. It's wonderful when you see other people suddenly start kind of not getting pulled into the chaos, but being able to pull others into their calm. That's a superpower.
So many leaders would tell you, list your top 5 problems. Stress is going to be among them. And I love the practicality of what you're describing, because this is some things people can apply today, and it doesn't cost anything.
Even
it's just
better.
Time, right? But it's intentional. It's not just going to happen.
I love that word, William, intentional. And you said it's going to take time. And the beauty of this is, the time's going to pass anyway. This isn't stuff that you have to say, wow, I need to schedule a half hour today to practice this. You breathe all the time.
That's true.
Start to think about that stuff where, the simple act of sitting back, right? It's amazing. If you think about it, most of us are up off of our chairs. If anybody listening, if you're sitting, think about this for a moment. Go ahead and sit back in your chair. Like, let the chair do the work. Get your back and your tailbone. Most people will shift back because we don't realize how we're up all the time.
That's true.
Physiologically, to be able to hold ourselves forward, for example, or be forward on a computer or something, for long periods of time, we have to create tension in our body because we're using those muscles to hold ourselves in those positions. What starts to happen is our brain goes, why are we tense? What's going on? And it brings all the little cortisol soldiers to the forefront, right?
Wow.
And it's like, why are we tense? What's wrong? What's wrong? And then the littlest thing can kick you over the fight or flight edge because we were right there. Just because of things like physically holding tension that we never even thought of as tension in our bodies. So if people want to start playing with this stuff, do 2 things. One, intentionally, I love that word, William. I'm going to use your word. I want you to intentionally, anytime you're aware that you're sitting up, like forward, I want you just to sit back and let the chair do the work. What you'll notice is 2 things happen very quickly. One, you realize that there was tension when you were up. You've just released tension going back. And what happens is your brain then goes, oh, all right, we're good. No worries. Because it's not looking for tension. What's wrong?
That's good.
The second thing that happens is you'll notice your breathing starts to change, which is the second thing I would invite and encourage you to practice. And here's the secret to getting your breath under your control real quickly. When we tell other people, take a couple of breaths, what's the word we add? Take a couple of what kind of breaths?
Slow.
Slow. Yeah. Slow or deep breath, right? We want to slow things down and we take a deep breath. The idea is when we're stressed, as we talked about in fight or flight, our breathing is high and shallow. It's up in our chest. If everyone took a big deep breath right now, their shoulders would most likely go up, chest would puff out.
That's good.
But when we talk about deep breath, we're talking about getting that breath down into the belly, right? If you've ever done meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, any kind of martial arts, you're talking about getting that breath centered in the core, right? Your breath is down deep, right? Belly breathing, those types of things. That's calm breathing. This is stress breathing. So when I'm in my chest breathing, it's stress breathing. You're never not going to have your brain on high alert. What's wrong? What's wrong?
Yeah.
And little things kick us over that fight or flight edge. When we can get our breathing down a little bit deeper, our brain goes, oh, we're good. And physiologically also, everything settles. And the secret to doing that is here's how to practice it. And again, you breathe all day long nonstop. So just practice as you're doing regular things. Instead of inhaling, because if I said, go ahead and take a big deep breath, everyone would go, I want you to reverse that. Breathe all of your air out first. Start with the exhale. Push all your air out until you can't push more out and let the breath come back in naturally. And notice where in your torso that breath comes in. Give it a try. Exhale all your breath until you cannot have any more go out. And go ahead and just let the breath come back in naturally. And what you might notice is it didn't come in just up in the chest.
Right.
Did you notice a little bit
Came
lower?
lower. Yeah.
Yeah. It almost feels like you're filling your lungs from the bottom up, which you're not, but that's that feel where my belly should expand a little and then my chest should expand. And so practice breathing, exhale, inhale. And if you combine those two things, when stress starts kicking in, when everyone else starts going, sit back, take a breath, exhale, inhale, and just notice where you are in that moment. You will be amazed at how something that simple that takes a few seconds can take your stress level from here to here. And again, we don't have to eliminate the stress. We call it stress management, not stress elimination. The key is if it's up here, it takes over and I can't manage it. If I can just get it down here a little bit, oh, I can manage this. This is a problem. This I got control of. It's never going to go away. And that's okay. That's never my goal. The goal is to get it in this middle. The answer is always in the middle, right? Never at those extremes again. So bring yourself back. It's easier to try and bring yourself back to the middle with one or two little things. And I know I could talk about this stuff for days, William. So I'm going to stop and throw it back to you and see where you want to go next.
That's so good. It's so helpful. And I think this is something people can practice right now, today, as they're listening to this. And I think if they continue to build these habits, it's going to affect, so many different parts of their lives. We've touched several times on mindset, Robin, and we've talked about this, and I know you talk about this a lot. People talk about the power of a mindset. What exactly does that mean? And what does that have to do with confidence or success?
This has been said so many different ways. What's going on in your head is going to dictate what's going on in the rest of your life. And when you realize that, when you take that and grab it and go, whoa, okay, so tell me more, we realize we're in a lot more control than we think of a lot of things that are going on. And that's the key. I want to keep going back to control, because at its very foundational level, there are things in your life you can control and there are things in your life you can't. Don't overthink it, right? Again, we're overthinking everything. what can't I control? Can't I control? I can't control other people. I can't control situations all the time. I can't control the traffic, the weather, the stock market. I can't control most of the things that stress us out.
Yeah.
Are things we have no control over.
That's true.
But that's where we put so much of our focus and attention. If we shift that focus and attention to, this is a very short list, what we have virtually total control over.
Yeah.
That's it, ourselves.
Yeah.
That's literally it. And so if we start realizing that I don't have to believe everything I think.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my goodness. That alone, right there. Gold.
Right? Just because I think it doesn't mean it's real or true.
That's right.
Right? I can think things and I can validate them or invalidate them. I don't have to just take them at face value, right? Somebody says you're really bad at that. I don't have to go, oh my God, I'm so bad. I'm a horrible person and this is awful. And we spiral, right? We run with something instead of going, wait, am I really bad at that?
Yeah.
No, it's the first time I ever did it. Of course I'm going to be bad at it. I've never done it before. I bet if I kept doing it because I chose to, the 5th time I would be better. And the 10th time I would be pretty awesome. And the 30th time I would be amazing.
Yeah.
So put things in the proper context when you have a thought, right? Of course I suck at that. I've never done it before. Why would I expect to be on chapter 20 instead of chapter 1, right? And so start to really, kind of question your thoughts and have some fun with it almost, right? Kind of look at it and go, why are you even thinking that? The best way to do this, I'll throw another couple of quick tools out there with this, is, and again, this is about your mindset determines everything else. And some people say, oh, you just have a positive mindset. You can see all the good in everything. And some people say you have a negative mindset. You just see everything as a problem or you're always complaining or whatever. Again, if I'm always only seeing the positive side, that's not always good because I'm going to miss things I really need to be aware of that could be roadblocks or problems, right? If I'm always complaining and always saying everything's awful and everybody's bad, oh my God, first of all, nobody wants to be around you. Right. So just know that. Secondly, that they're not the problem. Let me just put that out there. And secondly, you're missing the opportunities because all you're doing is looking at the roadblocks.
Yeah.
And you're probably making some of them up. And that's the key with mindset is, am I working with what's true or am I making up stories and working with that? And that's the key with mindset is when you have a mindset where you realize, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I kind of freaked out for a moment because we're human beings. You're allowed to react or be emotional for a moment or get whatever, but then stop and go, okay, so what can I do about that? Or where's the opportunity? Or can I do anything about it? Or maybe so, maybe not. Make some choices. What happens is when that mindset kind of kicks in and we're like, oh, this is awful. And then we get mired in it. We can't get out of it. And we just keep replaying the same thing over and over. All of a sudden we have no energy, right? We have no interest in things. We waste our time. Sometimes we waste our money, right? We stay there instead of going, boy, we had the same feeling. This person went, so what can I do about this? This person went, oh, let me hit rewind and play on that feeling 300 more times. Yeah. Right. These people are going to have the same response or feeling as human beings. They're going to choose to move in different directions. And so the mindset is, what are you going to choose to do when you have the feeling? Right. Do you need to sit with it for a little? Then do that. But you got to set a timer on your phone in a half hour. I need to get out of this feeling. I need to start logically going, so what do I need to do here? And get myself on an action track, right? The greatest thing I've ever heard that to me kind of puts this mindset idea together is the hero and the coward feel the same fear. The only difference between them is one chooses to take action. So when you're stuck in your feelings or the emotions or should I do this or am I good at that or whatever, one, I don't care how you feel, go do it anyway, right? Well, who said feel the fear and do it anyway? Go try it and then you'll know. And then validate what you're thinking in your own head. And the ways to do this really simply, one, we do this with other people all the time.
Mm.
So start to talk to yourself like you would a
Yeah.
friend, right? Because when you say,
good.
oh, I don't think I'd be good at that, we'll find 100 reasons why we think we wouldn't be good at that.
Yeah.
Right. But if a friend came to us and said, I don't think I'd be good at that, we'll go, what are you talking about? You're so good at this and you do that well. And oh my goodness, go give it a try. I bet you'd be great. We know how to talk to people that way. We
That's
know
good.
how to take something and go, no, get rid of that negative self-talk and let's lift you a little bit, right? But we don't do that with ourselves. So one, start to talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend. You already know how to do it. Just do it. Two, if you're really struggling with a negative self-talk voice, it's kind of a bully, an inner bully in there. Give that inner self-talk, that negative self-talk voice a name. Give it a name. So let's say I call it Joe, right? Joe is my negative self-talk voice. When I start having negative thoughts, I'm going to give myself permission to go, Joe, totally don't agree with you. Or Joe, you keep saying that, but I don't think that's true. Or Joe, I'm busy. I don't have time to have this discussion again right now. I'm going to go do this. We'll talk later. What that does, it does two things again very quickly. One, it starts to separate that negative voice from your other voice. So it's not just you beating yourself up constantly over and over. What it does is you start to realize, whoa. This guy's a jerk in my head.
Yeah.
And I get to choose what I do with this or not. The other thing it does is for a lot of people, this other voice and talking back a little bit to Joe, sometimes that's the first times people have stood up for themselves in their own head.
Yeah.
And that gets addictive in a very positive way, where when you start standing up for yourself and then Joe gets a little more quiet, or you invalidate something Joe says, Joe, everyone outside my head loves me helping with this. I don't know what your problem is, but apparently that's you, not them, and not me. So move on. Joe gets quieter and quieter. This voice gets louder and louder. And that equates to our confidence, our stress, right? Because stress and confidence are kind of like a seesaw.
Yeah.
When your stress levels go down, your confidence goes up. When your confidence goes down, your stress goes up. So the idea is, I don't always have to manage my stress. How can I find ways to make me feel a little more confident? Whether that's, let me sit back, let me take a couple of breaths, let me get settled, right? Let me tell my self-talk voice to just go sit in the corner and shut it, right? Because you're done. I'm done with you, right? Those little things boost confidence little bits at a time, and that stress level goes down as that happens. And now you know how to write this seesaw when you need to in the moment. And like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get. And it's easier and easier to do. And you said this earlier, William, it's going to take some time, but the time's going to pass anyway. If you just start doing it and don't stop, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, wouldn't it be amazing to be that person who just has more confidence and less stress and can adjust when they need to be a self-leader and a leader of anybody who needs them at that moment?
Oh my goodness. This is so good, Robin. This is so incredibly helpful and so practical. I love this. You have learned so much from your own journey and from other people. And every great leader that I talk to is a continual learner. Is there a book that you've read that you think, man, if I could recommend one book to other leaders, I think they should read this? What would that book be?
Of course, all of us personal development junkies probably have lists of these things in our heads and so many. I'm going to go off on a tangent here. And this was given to me years ago as a gift. And when it was given to me, I thought, what? And then when the person who gave it to me helped me understand this was, again, another one of those mind-boggling things that it's like, just keep it simple, right? Do you remember the children's book, Harold and the Purple Crayon?
Yes. Oh, yes.
I'm going to say everyone who is a leader, wants to be a leader, is aspiring to be a leader, you need to go get the children's book, Harold and the Purple Crayon, because what Harold does in that book is he takes a crayon and he gets to create what he wants to create. He gets to shift things and change things. And when you think about our lives and our journeys professionally and personally, it's your story. And you're always holding the pen always. And
Huh.
if you ever hand the pen to someone else, don't expect your story to be the one you wanted. It's that simple, right? And if you are stuck on a chapter, turn the page and start writing a new chapter, right? If you have read the same paragraph over and over and over, and you keep telling yourself that same, you know what? Turn the page or close the book. Walk away for a few. You get to decide what your story becomes. It doesn't matter what it's been. There's a lot you can take from that. Pick up your purple crayon and write what you want it to be. And don't give people your crayon very often. So that's the book I'm going to go with today, William.
So good. So good. What a powerful illustration that is. I love that.
Right.
Robin.
Keep it simple.
I love it. As we're wrapping up, if there's one thing you could share with our listeners, one thing that you wanted to walk away with, I mean, you've shared so many great things. What's the one thing you'd want them to remember?
You know what? I'm going to have to say, cut yourself some slack. You know, we are harder on ourselves than most people are. And at times when you're looking to accomplish things, sometimes you need to be hard on yourself, or you need to hold yourself accountable. Absolutely. I'm not saying go lay on the couch and just be lazy the rest of your life, but we're often way too hard on ourselves. And even when we're wanting to accomplish things and we're working really hard and diligently and intentionally, you still have to take some breaks. You have got to recharge. Do not just go. This idea of, to me personally, this idea of just hustle, it just misses the mark. It does, in my opinion. It misses the mark because, you know, just like your cell phone, you can talk on it. At some point, you got to recharge it or the battery's dead and you can't do it anymore.
That's true.
And again, we're just machines. You have got to be able to recharge yourself sometimes. And so cut yourself some slack, set some real good boundaries for yourselves. Here are things I say yes to. Here are things I say no to. Here are things I'll explore. Here are things that do not fit. Here are things I'm willing to find out more about. Get some boundaries in place. Hold yourself accountable to things you need to, but don't have unrealistic, really difficult expectations that hold you to things that never allow you to accomplish what you do because you're always so stressed out and burned out. And so cut yourself some slack, build into your calendar, whatever kind you use, or set notifications on your phone where every 3 hours, right, it bings and says, sit back and take 5 breaths. Just do it, right? You can set it up so that you don't have to remember things. Set those things. Put a half hour in your calendar a day. Just go outside and take a walk. I don't care if it's raining. Just go move. Stop thinking, move. And what you'll find is you do stuff like that, you come back and you can do a half hour of work in what would have taken you 4 hours to do previously because you recharged. Or you find that solution that you've been working on all morning and you couldn't do it. You got up and you moved for a few minutes. You sat down and went, oh, that's what it is. You have got to be able to do that. That is what, again, takes people who are really good at things and kicks it up another level for them.
Robin, I have so enjoyed this conversation, and I could talk to you for another hour. This is so insightful. I know our listeners are going to want to stay connected with you. What is the best way for them to do that?
Oh, thank you for asking that, William. I appreciate. You know, I am on LinkedIn pretty much daily. That is a great place. I'm always sharing tools and tips and all kinds of articles, things like that. So if these are things that are of interest to you, you can follow me on there. If you feel like you'd like to connect, whether it's to maybe work with me or just kind of touch base and be in each other's networks, if there's a good reason to do that, feel free to do that on LinkedIn. Also, my website is robinjsachs.com. And you can connect with me there. You can also find a lot of free videos and articles, a blog and stuff that touches on all these types of things. And everything that I share has a, here's what's happening, here's why it happens, and here's a tip, or here's something you can go try. And that's the key. Don't think too much. Don't talk about things too much. Just do more. Just go do stuff and you get all the answers you need. It's amazing.
Thanks for joining me for this episode today. As we wrap up, I have a couple of requests for you. I'd love for you to do 2 things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to find this podcast. Second, if you don't have a copy of my newest book, Catalytic Leadership, I'd love to put a copy in your hands. If you go to catalyticleadershipbook.com, you can get a copy for free. Just pay the shipping so I can get it to you, and we'll get one right out. My goal is to put this into the hands of as many leaders as possible. This book captures principles that I've learned in 20 plus years of coaching leaders in the entrepreneurial space, in business, government, nonprofits, education, and the local church. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take a next step with a coach who can help you to intentionally grow and thrive as a leader, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to catalyticleadership.net to book a call with me. And stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, leaders, choose to be catalytic.
Thanks for listening to Catalytic Leadership with Dr. William Attaway. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode. Want more? Go to catalyticleadership.net.